I was talking fantasy football with my friends the other day. Alan, Bravo. Echo. November. Tango. On. Football.
Hey, welcome back. We're here in the dungeon, bent on fantasy football, back for week 14 of the NFL. I'm your host, Alan Bentley. This is my co-host, Josh Worley.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the dungeon.
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to dive right into it this week. We're not going to talk a whole lot before we get right into it. So, Josh,
we got a couple beers left. We got 2 beers left.
So this week, I gave Josh the marker. I said, Josh, this is for you. You go ahead and label my beer. I have not seen it. I have no idea what it says.
I have no idea what you're talking about. This was totally his idea, whatever he wrote on there.
No, it was not. It was not.
You want to know something?
What?
These are our last 2 beers before the fantasy playoffs.
It is. You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Wow, I have a feeling that's going to come back to bite me somehow. So
Me
awesome.
too, probably.
Awesome. All right, so let's start with your beer.
All right, let's start with my beer. So I'll grab mine off here first. My beer's a little interesting. You guys probably are wondering why I have Tim Tebow and Mac Jones written on my beer. Well, if anybody watched that game Monday night, that game was atrocious. That was absolutely horrible. Mac Jones completed 2 passes for 19 yards.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and at one point during the game, I was telling Alan, I think you remember this too. The announcer says that just broke a streak of 32 straight running plays by the Patriots. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. But the reason I have Tim Tebow on there as well is because Mac Jones on Monday night joined Tim Tebow from 2011 as the only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history to start a game, finish a game, and win the same game with 2 or fewer completions.
Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Yeah, I mean,
so
can you imagine what's the next play? What do you think it is?
Yeah, duh.
Now, just to give you a little bit of insight too, in case you didn't know or didn't hear about it. So the situation there was that game was extremely windy. So
it had gusts up to 55 miles per hour.
Yeah,
or something.
you really can't throw the ball very effectively in that kind of weather. So. And the really funny part is both teams knew what the other team was going to do. There was no guessing about it. Punts, I'm sure, were fun to watch.
Yeah.
But, okay, so Mac Jones and beer and all that. What does my beer...
Well,
what kind of beer do I have?
Well, here, you do the honors and you can read it.
All right.
What you wrote and I had nothing to do with.
Allegedly.
So, allegedly.
Really? Josh is the best co-host in the world. Beer. Now this.
That's so nice of you, Alan.
This must.
See, he's a sweetheart, guys.
This must be a typo. That's the only thing I can think of. We probably had Whirly Labels put this together, and they probably made a typo. That's all I'm guessing. I don't know, but you know what? I'll take it. This week I will swallow the Josh is the best co-host in the world beer. All right.
Crack open a cold one.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
All righty. That was so nice of you, Alan. I knew you cared for me.
Yeah, it probably won't happen again, though. I'm just guessing. All right. So lead us on, Josh. Lead us on.
All right. So I'm looking at the outline here, and I'm trying to figure out Gub.
Gub.
Yeah. What's Gub?
Gub. That's what we're doing next. We're going to talk about what's Gub.
Okay, what's Gub? What does Gub stand for?
Got us bent.
Okay, duh. All right.
So what's got us Gub?
All right, I'll go first.
I don't know. I'll coin that phrase later.
What's got us bent or Gub? G-U-B. So that's old man humor for you. I love it though. But what's got me bent is I had somebody vandalize my car last week, and it's probably going to be about 30 days before I get my car back out of the shop. Quite a bit of damage, but oh well.
So the dude that did that, I want you to get bent from behind bars.
Yes, get bent.
Yeah, not on fantasy football either.
I just got that. Oh my god.
All right.
We mean when he's exercising, that's all.
Exactly. I don't want him to hurt his back or anything.
Yeah.
But All right, so what's got me bent this week is this whole big thing we have going on about vaccinations in the NFL. Now, I'm not against people who are anti-vax. I don't care if you have a reason that you don't want a vaccine. This is not about that. It's not about the vaccine at all. It's about how players are handling their vaccination status in the NFL. So I guess, you go back. We talked before about Aaron Rodgers and what that situation was. We've also had players that have presumably, or allegedly, I should say, bought or purchased some fake vaccination cards and tried to say that they were vaccinated when they weren't. Now, players have got a responsibility. It's not just about the virus. It's also about the people around you. You've got a responsibility to your team, whether you're vaccinated, immunized, or inoculated, or whatever you want to call it. That's your decision. Make that decision. Stand by that decision. I respect that. But you know what? I don't need to know why. And I also need you to be able to tell the team exactly what your status is. Because it doesn't just affect you. It affects everybody around you. You need to think about the players. You have an obligation to the team to make sure that you can do anything you can to keep your players healthy, to keep your teammates healthy, to be the leader of the team. You really, really, really have to share that information. Don't be fake about it. Lying about it is not going to help anything. It's like you're basically cheating, but not on to gain an unfair advantage. You're cheating your team. You're cheating your teammates. It's wrong. Don't do it. Stop doing it. Just give your vaccination status up. Let the team deal with it. If you don't want to release it to the public, that's your right. Don't do it. Or the NFL, I don't know who has control of that in the NFL, but whoever does, take that into consideration. It's not about the vaccine. It's about the people around you.
Yeah, and if I could say something about that.
Absolutely.
I mean, people who try to circumvent the rules by obtaining fake vaccination cards, supposedly, things like that, lying about vaccinations. I mean, we have to realize, how stupid can you be? The NFL's investigative team rivals that of the FBI and the CIA. They're going to find out, Just be honest. You're probably going to face less punishment just by coming out and saying, hey, look, this is what I did. I didn't take it. You maybe sit a game or two, but if you try to circumvent it with illegal actions.
I mean, we know in the NFL, if you have a vaccination card and you prove that you're vaccinated, immunized, or inoculated, however you want to say it, you get different treatment than the players that don't.
Ivermecticized? Is that one of them?
It could be. I don't know what that means. So somebody looked that up in
Ivermectin.
What?
That horse dewormer people were taking?
Okay.
Yes. That Joe Rogan was pushing.
All right. But long and the short of it is, it affects the people around you. So just make sure that, situations like this, the NFL should be making sure that everybody has actually had their shot or not had their shot. Because they get preferential treatment, or I shouldn't say preferential, different treatment if you're inoculated or if you're not, whatever the case may be.
Absolutely, especially when it comes around being in close quarters with teammates and family and press and so forth.
Yeah, Josh was very open and honest with me. Told me that he actually got the shot. That was very nice. Thank you, Josh.
Yes, I was.
I didn't share any information with him because I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so yeah, that's what's got me bent this week, or what's gub.
What's gub?
Yep. All right. So we talked about Mac Jones. We talked about what's gub, and let's dive into the division games this week, because there's a lot of. There's three key division games this
Absolutely.
week. So I want to kind of touch on those. Josh, you want to start with Baltimore and Cleveland?
Yeah, Baltimore, Cleveland. Last week Baltimore lost to Pittsburgh, and New England. That defense is looking like the New England of the last couple years, where they had the number one overall defense.
They're putting it together.
They've actually leapfrogged Baltimore now for the number one seed, and this is a must-win game for Baltimore. They're on the road at Cleveland. Baltimore's 8-4. They're second right now in the AFC. Cleveland 6-6. They're in that wild card hunt. There's a lot of teams right in that 6-win range that are in the wild card hunt. But what really surprises me about this game, and I think you don't think it's going to be an action-packed game. I don't think.
I don't. It may be, but it would surprise me if it was.
Okay. I would expect a really big bounce back from Lamar. after putting shoddy numbers, both fantasy-wise and game-wise. Last week in the loss to Pittsburgh. They're 2.5-point underdogs. I see no problem with Baltimore covering that. Over-under's 42. That's a little sketchy to me. I mean,
now if you're talking over/under and the spread, then yeah, I think the over/under and the spread are both pretty close. 42 might be. I think it could go heavy one way if, like you said, if Jackson bounces back and has his rebound game. I just don't think it's going to happen this week.
Well, it depends on the weather because there could be wind gusts. It could be frigid in Cleveland come Sunday. But we don't know for sure. If the weather is a little nicer, I would say Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, and Marquise Brown are the 3 fantasy options. Besides the running backs in Cleveland, I don't really see anybody fantasy relevant on that team.
Now, I'm going to tell you this. As far as, think about this, because where we're located is actually west of Cleveland. We're in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
The next few days here are supposed to be fairly warm.
Okay.
After today and tomorrow, it's supposed to warm up significantly. So it's going to really depend on which way that weather's moving and if they get the tail end of what we just went through, because it is cold here.
Oh, my God, it's freezing.
So the weather could be a huge factor in that. I'm kind of looking at that being one of the things, but I don't know. That offensive line of Baltimore scares me.
It does.
It really scares me in that they can't protect Jackson. That's why he's scrambling and running for his life half the time. Now, talk about making a lemonade out of lemons. He tries to do that on a regular basis. You can only get away with that for so long. If your offensive line doesn't stand up, you don't stand a chance. So that's what scares me about that. Otherwise, I would say it'd probably be a lopsided game as far as Baltimore goes. But that kind of scares me. I
agree with you. I mean,
I think it's going to be a snoozer.
Between Miami and Pittsburgh, they gave up almost 15 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Baltimore needs to win this game, and I think they will. I think we're going to see some more Lamar magic. Maybe not be huge fantasy numbers, but this is a must-win game for them going into Week 14.
Now, for the record, you have Lamar too. For the record, I didn't ask you, but I'm assuming he's obviously a must-start for fantasy for at least me, and I'm sure for Josh too.
Absolutely.
So don't let that scare you at all as far as his production goes, because he's going to get probably a combination of passing and rushing yardage in there, depending on the weather and how quick he can run away from the defense. But so don't let that scare you. You want to move on to the LVKC?
Yeah. Oh, and that's a noon game, by the way, the Baltimore Cleveland. In fact, all 3 of these division games are noon games, noon Eastern, noon Central.
Noon Central.
Yeah, so yep. Central our time.
Yep.
Las Vegas and Kansas City. That's a really interesting game. Las Vegas beat them early on in the year, quite convincingly actually.
They did.
Do you know what the weather's going to be like in Kansas City, or?
I do not.
Last I checked, it wasn't going to be too bad, and not blizzard or anything like that.
I don't think so. Not to the best of my knowledge, no. That the game you were talking about was Week 10, I believe. When Kansas City blew out Vegas.
No, Las Vegas beat Kansas City.
Or I'm sorry, yeah, the other way. my mistake. But anyway, it's a different game now, though. Kansas City was on a slow streak. They're slowly starting to build the momentum back up again. I don't know if it's going to be enough to actually cover that 9.5 spread.
That's big.
But I will say this: I think the over under on that is a shoe in it at 48. And we'll talk about a little bit more about that in a little bit. But I think it's going to be a shootout. I really think that
I do too.
That all your fantasy players with Carr, Ruggs.
Not Ruggs.
Or I'm sorry, not Ruggs. Anyway,
Carr Jacobs.
Waller
should be back.
Well, yep. All these guys, I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy points for Las Vegas just in sheer attempts.
He didn't mention his favorite Raider.
My favorite Raider.
Renfro.
Oh, Renfro. Yeah.
Renfro's his favorite Raider.
Yeah. At the moment, he is, because he's been killing it for me.
His targets are just out of this world, man.
You want to talk about keeping an eye on what's going on in the league, in the NFL, and getting that free agent pickup. that's what you've got to do during the season. Renfroe was a free agent pickup for me. You've got to do that. Find those little diamonds in the rough and jump on them when you can. And sometimes it's hit or miss, but yeah, that one definitely paid off for me.
Oh, absolutely it did.
But I think there's going to be a ton of points on the Vegas side in just sheer attempts alone. I think they're going to be behind and probably early.
Yeah.
Their defense isn't good enough to stop Kansas City. When Kansas City's good, now Kansas City hasn't been good for a while. They haven't been great for a while. I'll say that. They haven't been great for a while.
They've been coming on lately. They did beat the Packers, which I thought was the hottest team in the NFL. And they shut them down to 7 points, So
I don't think there's going to be a lot of. I'll leave it at that. I'm not
I think it's going to be a shootout as well.
I'll let it go.
I think it's going to be a shootout. These teams always play each other close. Points are generally come like water when these two teams play, at least in the past couple of years. Now, we mentioned the Las Vegas guys. I mean, you got the usual suspects in Kansas City. I still like Darrell Williams better than CEH, though, don't you?
I do. I like him as a player more from a fantasy perspective. I have both of them on one team.
I hate that.
I'm stuck in that position where right now CEH is probably gonna keep that running back or that RB1, but he's not the player. Okay, let me say this: he hasn't shown that he's the same player as Darrell Williams, not Darrell Williams, but Darrell Williams. So from a fantasy perspective, I like Williams, but I don't like him from a fantasy perspective. I like him as a nice handcuff, though.
Yeah, I think he's a better pass catching back out of the backfield.
Oh, for sure.
But Mahomes doesn't like to do that a lot. So
he does when he has that target. When he has CHN, he doesn't have as reliable of a target. If you look at how many passes Williams got while he was starting. He was pretty reliable. There's a lot of
7 targets a game.
Yeah,
so,
it's pretty good dump off ratio. So, I don't know, but it's going to definitely be a shootout one way or the other. Now, as far as the spread goes, is that part of your bet prediction or no? Is that one?
It is.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
All right. So Dallas, Washington. Let's talk about the House of Cards versus the football team.
Yes.
By the way, every time we say the football team, I have to say that I hate that name.
So, just so you guys know, anybody who's been watching us all year, if Dallas wins this game, they're going to ruin my prediction of the NFC East division winner going 500 or less. So, Dallas will be guaranteed over 500 record. Washington's starting to play a lot better, I think. Okay. Mm-hmm. Dallas is coming in 8-4. They're the division lead right now. Right behind them is Washington, 6-6. Now, Washington is a 4-point underdog at home. I don't necessarily think Washington can win that game, but I think it's going to be a close game. I really do.
What about is that part of your prediction?
It is not, no.
Okay, so what about the spread? How do you feel about the spread then?
Well, there's 4 points, so Dallas is a 4-point favorite. I think that game could come down to 1 or 2 points either way. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas won the game. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington won the game, but I think it's going to be by a field goal or less.
You think so?
I do.
Okay, so here's my thought on it. I think if the House of Cards stands and everybody stays healthy, I have to say that every time I talk about Dallas because it killed me last year. I think if that House of Cards stands, I think they'll do well. I think they'll probably win the game. That 4+ I think is going to be, or that 4-point underdog I think is going to be, that 4-point favorite is going to be not very accurate. I believe that's probably going to jump. I think Dallas is going to definitely cover that 4 points.
So you think it might move to 5 or 6 by game time?
I think it will because there's some significant injuries on Washington's side of the ball.
Okay.
At least on defense anyway. I don't know about offense. I didn't really look into that too much. But actually, yes, they do. The running back situation is a little messed up if I remember correctly.
No, Gibson's back. He had a huge week last week, so he's really starting to come on.
Did he or did he not get injured last week?
I don't remember.
Okay, he may not have. But it seemed like I heard that he gotten injured. I've had a hard time keeping up with things this week. I've got a lot of stuff going on, so I'm playing a little bit of catch up as we go along here too. So
Alan started a new job as the Bears coach. Oh, yeah. Am I not supposed to tell anybody yet?
Nah.
Okay. All right.
This always gets out.
I know.
Anyway, see, you got to really pick your friends carefully because some of them. But anyway, so back to the game. So Dallas, Washington. I think it's going to be a really good game. Washington is. I'm a little concerned about their defense this week. Offensive, I think there's going to be some points scored fantasy-wise that way. Whether it translates into enough points to beat Dallas, I don't know. But I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy points. McLaurin, love that guy. Absolutely love him. He's a consistent target every single week. For some reason, they can't cover him. So he's just dying to break a big one. At some point, he's going to break a big one before the season's over. You mark my words on it. That might even be my bet prediction next week.
There you go.
So I'll write that down and say, we'll forget.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Gibson. Gibson's another one.
Yeah.
He's really starting to come into that RB1 role.
Absolutely.
And Taylor Heineke. I mean, he's really developed some chemistry with
He's
McLaurin.
one of the biggest surprises of the season.
Yeah.
I have to say that. He's been pretty consistent. He's not been overwhelming for any length of time, but he's a good quarterback. He's a good, solid quarterback. I see next season a lot of fantasy points coming from Washington if they play their cards right in the
I do too. And the biggest surprise with Heineke to me is he's running the ball. He's scoring. He's not only running the ball, but he's scoring touchdowns by running the ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, he could put up some decent points. Other than those three on Washington's side, I don't really have any fantasy relevant players. Do you?
No, I don't. I kind of wish I did on Dallas because we were talking before the show started that I'm calling this right now. This is not my bet prediction, but I'm going to call this right now that I think Dallas is a dark horse in the NFC. I think they've got all the pieces in place. I think they haven't put it together yet. They haven't figured out what's going to make it work. But they've got all the pieces in place. They just got to get over that hump. If they do before the end of this season, you're going to see a surprise dark horse in the NFC. Not a bet prediction, just saying.
I don't agree with you, but if that defensive line can live up to its potential, then it could happen. I could see it happening.
So he doesn't agree with me, which means I'm absolutely right. Perfect. All right.
I'm screwed. So on Dallas' side, fantasy relevant, of course you got Dak. You got Zeke and Pollard, surprisingly. I mean, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Pollard actually outscored Zeke last week. I was so mad.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big Zeke proponent. So
who would have thought that before the season started?
No one.
No. So
maybe Taco or Raffy, but that's about it. And then of course you got the two-headed monster in Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, it's hard to stop both those guys.
Yeah, Dallas has got all the pieces in place. It's just a matter of putting it together and figuring out a good game plan for that set of talent, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. But fantasy wise, points. I'm seeing a lot of points from both sides of the ball on this one. At least two, with your quarterback on Washington and your wide receiver on Washington, possibly a running back. We'll see how that pans out because Dallas' defense isn't that bad.
Yeah.
On the Dallas side of the ball, I see a lot of points coming up on the board, fantasy wise.
I do too.
So if you've got these guys, start them. I think it's going to be a great game, and Washington's losing a little bit on defense, so I think Dallas is primed for a good game.
And we need a big game from Zeke, so he.
Well, we don't.
I do.
We do. All right, so let's move on to our bet predictions.
Okay, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
Okay, I got two of them, and we talked about these division games here. First one. Might be popular, might not be. No big surprise. I'm going to pick Baltimore to win that game straight up. They're a 2.5-point underdog on the road at Cleveland. I just think this is a must-win game for them after dropping that number 1 overall seed in the AFC. There's going to be a sense of urgency there, and Cleveland's not looking the best as of late. So I really like Baltimore to win that game straight up, not only cover the 2.5 points. My second one here, Alan, I don't know if it's going to agree with me or not. I like Las Vegas on the road, not only to cover 9.5 points in Kansas City, but to win that game on the road.
Wow. As
a 9.5-point underdog. They really seemed to figure them out last time. The weakness for Kansas City is in the secondary, okay? And Las Vegas is going to have to throw. I mean, they're going to have to throw because they're probably going to be down.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
And if they can get up a couple touchdowns or even one touchdown, it's going to be tough for Kansas City to stop that offense from
I'll say this.
prolonged drives. So
yeah, I'll say this, that Las Vegas offense, even not playing a weak Kansas City secondary, throws 4, 5, 6, 700 times a game or something. I mean, it's ridiculous how much they throw. So just on sheer volume, and we've been saying this all season because Vegas is okay. They mix in the run game, but their offense is centered around passing, and they pass consistently, a lot consistently, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But so I see a lot of points coming out of that. Now, that being said, covering a 9.5 point spread, I don't know. It's really,
no, I don't think they're going to cover the 9.5 point spread. I think they're going to win outright. Not only cover that.
I understand that, but covering. Let me break this down for you. So first, covering the 9.5 point spread. I don't think they're going to cover it, let alone win.
Okay, so you think Kansas City is going to beat them by double digits?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Now, that being said, did you take the over or under on that one?
I did not.
Oh, good, because I did.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, on that being said, the over under is 48 on that one. So, I'm going with the over on that because I think that's going to be a whole lot of points. I don't think they're going to cover that spread, but I think it's going to beat that 48 by a long shot.
I do like that pick. And I was thinking about that. I was also thinking about the Washington +4 money line, but I steered away from those two. So
that's a hard one. That +4 is a hard one. That's too tight of a gap to put money on. At least for me, it would be.
Yes.
I like those. I like those ones with the big odds there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So all right. One other thing that we do definitely want. Well, actually, there's two other things we want to talk about, but let's start off with the Bears.
Real quick. We did not have a show last week. But Alan and we did pick 3 underdogs to win straight up, and 2 of the 3 hit. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Who's missed? Was it my prediction or yours?
Well, we picked them together. We're a team, Alan.
Okay,
so we went 2-1.
Okay. So which part of the team did better?
All right, I picked all 3 and 2 of them won, okay? So I went 2-1 in money line underdogs.
Perfect.
Oh my God!
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Bears. Let's talk a whole lot about the Bears-Packers game.
Yes, let's do it.
There's a lot of things going into this game. There's a lot of implications in this game. The Green Bay Packers obviously are leading the division and are going to win the division. Now, what they've got at stake is if they win this week, they've actually clinched the division and they're moving forward towards the home field advantage for the playoffs. Now, the Bears, on their side of the ball. So, the Bears, if they lose this week, they're pretty much out of it completely anyway, but they're not going to win the division for sure. They're still in the playoff hunt, which is not saying a lot because the bar's not set really high for that at this point in the season, especially. So a lot of 6-6 teams. The Bears would drop to 4 and 9. Yeah. If they were to lose this week. So depending on what other teams do, they may still be in the playoff hunt, at least as a wild card. But
we figured it out just a little bit ago. Even if the Bears do lose, we won't know. That would put their max win total at 8 games, right?
Yep.
So you got 3 teams right now in the NFC that are 6 wins.
Right.
So they would both have to lose. All 3 of them would have to lose 2 weeks in a row, and the Bears would have to win out, assuming they lose to the Packers. Now, I'm not saying they will, but yeah, it's slim to none.
So you're really not saying they will? Because let me clarify for you.
But no, it's we figured it out, and it's not impossible. So you're saying there's a chance. So
yeah, it's not impossible, but definitely improbable.
Yes.
So on top of all that, though, there's a lot more at stake now. The Bears got their quarterback coming back, their starting quarterback coming back. So the rookie. So let's take a look at that too. So with this game now, let me retrace my steps a little bit. We talked last week or the week before, I should say, about the Bears have never fired a head coach mid-season or during a season ever in their history. Now, with all this chants that have been going on with fire Nagy, and the peer pressure with the McCaskies, the way to actually get yourself fired in Chicago is not by having fans chant "Fire Nagy." The way to get yourself fired is to not beat the Packers. That's what the McCaskies really live in and thrive on is beating the Packers. Several seasons ago, I don't remember which head coach it was they were hiring, but his number one job was to beat the Packers. And I think it was Lovie Smith, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that didn't happen, and Lovie went bye-bye. So if you really, really wanted to find somebody's season in one game, that'd be Matt Nagy. If the Bears lose this game, especially after all the controversy after last game being in Soldier Field and all the comments that were made and everything, that's one thing. And then the Fire Nagy chants come in. At that point, if you don't handle that, if you keep losing and you lose to the Packers, you're done. Now, I'm not saying they will fire him during the season. However, it does increase the odds of that happening. So, as far as being a lot on the line, there's a whole lot on the line for this game on
Absolutely.
both sides of the ball. Now, what are your thoughts on it, Josh? I mean, tell me the breakdown on it. We're looking at it. We got a 12.5 spread on it on the game with obviously the Bears being the underdog. We got 43.5 points over under. What do you think about this game? Tell me what your
I think this is a bigger game for the Packers than it is for the Bears. You know what I mean?
In some aspects, yes.
In some aspects. The number one aspect is the number one overall seed in the NFC. They're one game behind the Cardinals right now. Cardinals are 10-2. Packers are 9-3.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the luxury that the Packers have is the Cardinals don't play until Monday night. And guess who they're playing? The Rams.
Right.
So that game could go either way. So
now let me just throw
the
something out
Packers
there.
have already beaten the Cardinals.
I anticipated that would come up.
Uh-huh.
So if you look ahead to the following week, did you see who Arizona's playing the following week?
Isn't it Tampa Bay?
No, it's Detroit.
Detroit. Oh, yeah, that's right.
So they get a bye week that week. That's pretty much a given. If they can't beat Detroit, then they don't deserve to be ahead of the Packers anyway.
Yeah.
But so look at schedule 2 for next week, because that could flip-flop again. Even if the Packers win and Arizona loses this week, that could still flip-flop.
I don't think Packers are going to lose next week, though. Even if they're playing, who are they playing? Not Minnesota. It's I forget who they're playing, but
I'm not sure.
But the Packers do have the tiebreaker. So if Packers win this Sunday night, Arizona wins or loses Monday night, which I think they probably will, even though they're at home. They're my team. I think the Rams has their number, and I think they're going to have their number right.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that this game is going to be actually on Sunday night, and then the following week the Bears play on Monday night.
Yes, against the Vikings.
Yeah. So that kind of annoys me, because that's going to be a wasted Monday night game, as far as I'm concerned anyway, because the Vikings are of no relevance to me. Sorry, Vikings fans, but it is what it is. So, but the game itself, I think, is going to be when I said before that there's almost as much relevance for the Bears as there is for the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of an internal thing and not a season hopeful playoff garbage.
Yeah. Oh, I get it.
So, if you look at Justin Fields, his development depends on this game in a way. So if they do get rid of Nagy, the sooner the better. In my opinion, I'm along with everybody else. Like I said a couple weeks ago.
I mean, I don't think there's anybody that thinks he's going to last after the day following the end of the season.
I would hope not, but
yeah.
if my hope is that they do get rid of him in the middle of the season, because this season is pretty much shot. Let's open up the books and let's see what we really have for talent. I think we've got a good set of people, players, talent on the offensive side of the ball. We just got to figure out how to put them to use. And defense, we need an overhaul on. I think there's a lot of problems on defense, and I won't go into all that. But so the Bears should start rebuilding for next season now. I want to see them beat Green Bay, but then again, I kind of don't. because I want to see Nagy go away. I mean, any Bear fan would probably.
Well,
tell you that.
as a Cardinal fan, I want him to see him beat Green Bay, but I don't think there's any chance they're going to cover that 12.5 spread.
No, I don't either.
Let alone even win. You know.
Yeah, I don't think they'll cover the spread. The 43.5, yeah, that may be, but I don't think much of that's going to be on the Bears side of it. To be honest with you. Unless I'm surprised because, Justin Fields is back. Darnell Mooney downfield may be a good thing. So fantasy-wise, maybe keep that in the back of your mind if you've got, I don't know, I'm not sure which teams. I know Indy's on a bye this week. I think Miami is on a bye.
New England.
Okay.
Yep.
So, if you've got somebody on those teams, I've got Pittman this week. You might want to think of Darnell Mooney if you've got him on your bench and put him in. 'Cause he's good for at least a long pass every now and then.
And they're both number 11, by the way, too. So
true that. So all right, cool. So anything else you got for us this week, Josh?
Well, fantasy relevance, that game.
Oh, you know what? We have to back up because we have to talk about the statistic you found out.
Oh yes. So I found out a statistic. You guys are gonna love this. So we all know how bad the Chicago Bears pass offense has been this year under Matt Nagy. I just want to give you guys a view as to how bad they've been. So I found this article here, and it brings up these stats. Now, Matt Nagy's passing offense this year is averaging 173.8 yards per game, which is, drum roll, last in the NFL. Surprising? No.
No, not at all.
By comparison, the Bears quarterback from 1943 to 1947, Sid Luckman, averaged 189.5 yards per game. So, what does that mean, Alan? In conclusion, that Nagy's passing offense is literally less efficient than the passing offense in the 1940s.
Yes, and I am not surprised by that at all. Way to go, Nagy. Why are the fans chanting "Fire Nagy"? I don't get it.
Me neither.
I mean,
isn't it like golf? The lower scorer wins.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, I mean, with numbers like that, if they don't win, it's their own fault.
Yeah, right.
But I just a great example, and I'm pretty sure that By the way, from now on, whenever you mention Sid Luckman on the show, you have to say the great before that.
The great Sid Luckman.
In Bears quarterback history, he qualifies as great. So,
you know what? You're right. Sadly, he's right.
It's true. I love you, Bears, but my gosh, come on. So that's my point to that is basically that Nagy is not the man that should be guiding a young Justin Fields. He needs to step aside or get fired or whatever's going to happen with him, but he needs to go away. Otherwise, that jump up in the draft to get Fields, well, it was pointless. The Bears have been the place where quarterbacks go to die. If you look back at history,
yeah.
So we can't drive the young guy into the ground. But anyway, I'm going to stop harping on that because you Packer fans are probably like blah 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 blah. I've heard that before. So
let's talk about fantasy relevance. Besides Mooney, Montgomery, I would say he has a little value. Besides the two of them, I don't like Cole Kmet. I don't like Fields. I don't like anyone else. No other receivers.
From a fantasy perspective, I do like Montgomery. I think that he's going to have a big game.
You can run on the Packers.
Right.
So.
Yeah, passing is where the Bears are going to fail, I think. Let's say, run some options or whatever. They have to get kind of creative.
If they put some of those RPOs in for Justin Fields, I think he'll have time to get some, Mooney open down the field or across the middle. But if they don't, if they don't, then they're screwed.
Yeah, and like I said, Mooney, I think being a good fantasy option. I know you say you don't like Cole Kmet. I don't like him yet. I don't like him in this game for sure, but I don't like him yet. I think he's somebody who's going to have to develop a little bit more.
I agree.
He's got all the tools, but he's got to put it together. So.
And then for the Packers, you got the usual suspects: Rodgers, Jones, Adams.
Yep.
And that's
so I'm going to recommend a bench Rodgers. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm recommending that to the Packers team, not to fantasy people. My mistake.
Hey, if it was Nagy coaching, he probably would.
Yeah, he might. Start Justin Fields instead of Rodgers.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh God.
All right, fantastic. All right. So I guess in conclusion, do you have anything?
I don't. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these games. When we get together every Sunday, we have 2 games for the noon games. I'm hoping 2 of these games, those 3 games that we looked at, are the 2 games that we get.
Yeah, that'll be good because at least they'll have some real good not only fantasy relevance but playoff relevance too.
Yeah, because the Bears-Packers both don't play at noon, so I bet you we'll get that Baltimore-Cleveland game.
We might.
Or the Las Vegas-Cincinnati. I'm hoping. So.
Right. Yeah, they could very well be. All right, we'll probably get the Detroit game.
Yeah.
Shoot my TV right then and there.
Yeah, right. Or dog surfing again.
Yeah, dog surfing. Oh, yes. No, I actually seen real funny thing. So I seen a Bear fan wearing a shirt that said, "At least I'm not a Detroit Lions fan."
Yes.
So that was awesome. All right, we're gonna let you guys go this week. Until next week, tune in next week. Watch us. Until then, get bent
On fantasy football.